Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. I hope you all are doing great today. I'm Ranjan Dhar, co-founder of Nibble Foods. We are a manufacturer of healthy snacks based out of Pune, India. So our vision is to empower all and especially Gen Next with a healthy lifestyle which includes nutritious, delicious and sustainable snacking options without compromising on taste. So I welcome you to yet another podcast under the Wealth in Health podcast series that we have started. With me, I have a very familiar face who has been extremely kind and gracious enough to do another podcast with me. He is none other than Mr. Soumam Dutta, a PhD scholar at ICMR National Institute of Nutrition, India. He has over 3 years of experience in experimental and public health nutrition. In case you did not see my last podcast with him on types of diet and their significance and benefits, do check it out by clicking on the I button above. The link for it is also available in the description and pinned comments. So welcome Shomam, it is great to have you with us again today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here again. This is my second podcast with Nibble. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much, Shomam. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to speak about the universe. Yes, you heard me right, but this is not the this is not the universe that you are. That you are familiar uh, with in the outside, right? So I'm not going to talk about the planets, or we are not going to talk about the planets, the stars, the moon, and so on. But this is the universe that you, I, and every one of us has inside of us. It is called the gut microbiome. So let's hear it from Shomam. And try to understand exactly what gut microbiome is. So Shomam, if you can enlighten us.
Yeah, so basically, the term microbiome and microbiota, these two are used very interchangeably. So, the term microbiota, gut microbiota, when we say, so microbiota refers to the sum of all microorganisms which are present in our gut, and microbiome refers to the sum of all genes which are present in these microorganisms which are residing in our gut. So there is a microbiome, like anywhere our body comes in contact with the outside world. For example, we have urinary tract microbiome, we have skin microbiome, vaginal microbiome, human breast milk microbiome, oral microbiome, then airway tract, so lung microbiome, and so on. Uh, so basically, these are the microorganisms which are residing in our body. So basically, we are the host for these microorganisms. Some of these microorganisms are highly beneficial for us, some of them are pathogenic. So it depends on the balance of this commensal beneficial microorganisms and the pathogenic microorganisms which we are having inside, and their balance will determine our health outcome.
Okay, okay. So, Shomam, like we discussed in our last podcast about the diets, right? So, majority of the problems in the human body begins with what we consume, right? And
Yeah,
what our gut reacts to that, right?
yeah.
Can you explain, the different types? So there is good bacteria, there is bad bacteria, right, inside of our gut. So, can you help us understand what's the significance between the two?
So, before coming to diet, let me discuss about some other factors which are responsible for the composition of the microbiome, the gut microbiome in particular. So, there are numerous factors which are responsible for the health and balance of our gut microbiome, for the eubiosis, that is a balance, the ideal balance between the healthy and pathogenic microorganisms. So, a very important factor is age, then mode of delivery at birth. So the babies who are born through vaginal delivery, they have a completely different microbiome pattern than the babies who are born through cesarean section.
Okay.
So then term birth or preterm birth, hospitalization, use of antibiotics, and so on. These all factors are responsible. And definitely then comes dietary factors. So, for example, if we talk about infants, breastfeeding has a very beneficial effect on the gut microbiome composition. Later on, when we start with complementary food, which kind of food the babies are receiving, that will determine the composition. And again, in adulthood, the kind of diet that we are consuming, that will again determine the composition. For example, if we are having more of fruits, vegetables which are rich in dietary fiber, it will promote the growth of beneficial microbes. Whereas if we are eating too much of animal protein or choline rich substances, it will again shift the microbiome towards a completely different pattern. So that's how diet plays a very important role. Also, water, the type of water that we are consuming, and the environment, the hygiene that is being maintained, all these factors are responsible. So diet is not the only factor. In fact, there are studies which show that um, e- even after receiving equally nutritious diet, the malnourished individuals and the healthy individuals have a completely different microbiome pattern. So definitely diet is important, but it's not the only factor.
Right. I mean, even you mentioned about the lung microbiome, so even the air we breathe in, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whether it's
definitely.
polluted
Yes.
or clean, right? That
Yeah.
also influences a lot of the
Yes.
microbiome, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, again, I mean, obviously, I mean, we will not keep it specific to gut, but I just wanted to understand the difference between good bacteria and so you mentioned about this birth types, right? So
Yeah.
we have C-section and we have normal vaginal birth, right? So how much of a difference does it play in the microbiome when I mean between the two types of birth?
Okay, so basically, the vaginal microbiome, the kind of microbes which are present in the vaginal fluid, that is beneficial for the infant. So when they are born vaginally, those vaginal fluids go into the mouth of the infant, and ultimately those microbes colonize in their gut, which later on is associated with numerous health benefits. Whereas the babies who are born through cesarean section, they acquire more of the microbes which are present in the skin, and also the opportunistic pathogens which are present in the hospital setting, like Enterobacter, Enterococcus, Klebsiella. So these are not good for early colonization. So C-section babies have a higher chance of getting such skin-associated and hospital-associated microbes as compared to the vaginally born babies.
Mhm. And just to clarify to all our audiences, by vaginal birth, we are referring to here is the normal birth
Normal
that
birth.
that happens, right? And also during the normal birth, there is fluid inside the womb, right? Which the baby also consumes, I think, during birth, which helps in the good bacteria circulation and production. Is that something true? I think we have some connectivity issues with Shomam, so let's just wait for one moment. He will join back in.
Hi, is it okay now? I
Yeah,
could.
yeah, that's fine, Shomam.
Yeah.
I mean, can you can hear me, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, okay, great. So what I was asking is during the normal birth, right?
Yes.
So the baby also consumes some sort of fluid. I don't remember the name of the fluid right now, but consumes
It's
that fluid, which
vaginal
helps in
fluid.
production of good
It's,
bacteria
yeah.
also, right?
Yes. So the vaginal fluid, it contains microorganisms which are beneficial for the infant. So
Okay.
the babies acquired that when born through normal delivery. Yeah.
Okay, great, great. So, can you give us some examples where, I mean, good bacteria? I mean, what are these good bacteria and bad bacteria? Is there any specific names, or are there any?
Yes, there are bacteria which are good, like Actinobacteria phylum is very good. Bifidobacterium, certain species of Lactobacillus, these are usually considered to be beneficial,
Okay.
whereas harmful microorganisms like Clostridium, Escherichia, Staphylococcus,
Hmm.
these are there. Klebsiella, as I was mentioning.
Hmm.
So actually, we can't really define what is an ideal, perfect gut microbiome.
Hmm.
We don't have a definition yet. And other than bacteria, there are many other microorganisms like protozoa, fungi, and so on. So their interaction plays the more important role than the individual species.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are millions and billions of bacteria, right? I mean, in a
Yes.
study, I read that at least there is 30 million bacteria residing in our
Yeah.
gut only, right? At a,
Probably it's more than the human cells.
right, yeah,
Having more bacteria or microbes than the total number of cells that we are having in our body.
right, right, yeah, yeah. So, help us understand how, I mean, our digestive health helps. I mean, how this bacteria helps in our digestive health, in nutrient absorption or nutrient discarding, right?
Well, so the microbiome, it's mostly present in the large intestine. The most of the bacteria, they reside in the large intestine. There they break down the dietary ingredients that they receive at the large intestine level. So, for example, they break down mostly the dietary fiber and they produce short chain fatty acids, which are very much helpful and required for the maintenance of the intestinal cell line, the epithelial cells that we are having in the intestine. It provides the necessary energy to these cells. It helps in, it has anti-inflammatory effects, immunomodulatory effects, and many more. Its numerous functions are there, and they also help to break down certain complex food matrix, and thereby it releases more nutrients which can be absorbed. However, maximum absorption takes place at the small intestine level. But yeah, in the large intestine, whatever dietary ingredients are reaching, the gut microbes utilize them and produce numerous metabolites, which in turn provide us benefits.
Right, right.
Any echo by any chance?
Sorry?
Is there any echo by any chance? Can
No, no,
you?
no. I'm able to hear you all good. So
I
it's
feel like when I'm talking, there is some echo.
no, no, no problem. So it's all good. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so that's why, I mean, again, referring back to your, I mean, the topic that you introduced in our last podcast and also in the start of this podcast, right? Diet rich in fiber, right? And I mean, especially fruits,
Yeah.
vegetables, right? They help in cultivating this good bacteria, right?
Yes.
Right.
So basically, the microbes, they utilize them for their growth and colonization and so
Right.
on.
Right. Yeah, so that's how, I mean, fiber plays a very important role in
Yes.
our diet, right? I know, help us understand. So, I'll take an example, right? Say, suppose I mean, every one of us have cough and cold, right? Once a year at least, right? And then when it becomes a viral thing, doctors prescribe us antibiotics, right? A
Yeah.
3-day course or 5-day course, maybe, right? And how does those antibiotics play a part in the microbiome, gut microbiome, straight up?
So, antibiotics, when we are consuming a particular type of antibiotic, it will selectively allow to grow the microorganisms which are resistant to that particular antibiotic.
Okay.
It will kill all others, all other microbes, and the microbes which are resistant to that antibiotic, they will start growing.
Hmm.
So after a certain period of time, that antibiotic will not show any effect as such because of antibiotic resistance, and the gut microbiome will completely, have a different pattern than it was before, because many, so antibiotics will not kill selectively the pathogenic microbes, it may kill the beneficial microbes as well. So there will be depletion of the commensal microbes, beneficial microbes, and therefore, like it's very commonly observed phenomenon, antibiotic associated diarrhea. After we start antibiotics, there are chances of having diarrhea and so on. Even there are reported cases of constipation also. So it completely shifts and destroys the balance that we are having. That ecosystem is completely destroyed by the antibiotics.
Mm, right. So yeah, I mean it completely shifts the balance as you said, right?
Yes,
And in some cases, if the good bacteria is not resistant to the antibiotic, it may kill it also, right?
yes,
And
exactly.
yeah,
So
and
that's why, like, but there are situations when we actually need antibiotics. That time we have to take it.
right.
And nowadays, medical professionals, they also prescribe probiotics along with the antibiotics.
Mm, mm,
So those kind of precautions we have to take. But yeah, unnecessary use of antibiotics should be, discouraged.
right. Yeah, I mean obviously if the disease or I mean whatever the situation the person is suffering from is extreme, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, obviously antibiotics would be required. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I understand. So tell us, I mean, about the mental health, because everything that happens within all these organisms that are present within our body, they also affect our mental health in some
Yeah.
way, right? Can you elaborate on?
So basically, there is an axis, what we call the gut-brain axis. So there is a crosstalk between brain and gut through different mechanisms. So there is nervous system, enteric nervous system, which crosstalks with the brain through the vagus nerve, and microbiome, the gut microbes, they produce numerous metabolites, as I was mentioning, and there are microbial products that enter into the circulation. They ultimately reach the brain, and there they can stimulate so many things depending on the type of metabolites reaching the brain. So if pathogenic micro, so if we have a leaky gut sort of phenomenon, then the microbial products will leak into the circulation. It will come into the circulation, it will go to the brain, and there it may cause inflammation, oxidative stress, and so on. And if we have beneficial microbes in our gut, it will produce short chain fatty acids, which ultimately will reach the brain, where it promotes the blood brain barrier integrity. Then it exerts anti-inflammatory effects. It helps to improve memory, so kind of anti-aging effect, and so on. So numerous conditions, like especially the neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and so on, have been linked to gut microbiome composition.
Right.
So through
Yeah.
this gut brain, this hypothetical gut brain axis,
Mm.
this crosstalk happens.
Right. And that is where the consumption, overconsumption of
Yeah.
sweets and ultra processed foods causes inflammation and ultimately disrupts the gut-brain axis,
Yeah.
right?
So it can be from the other way also,
Mm.
like, for example, romantic relationship dissolution. It has been associated with gut microbiome, dysbiosis.
Okay.
So the death of a romantic partner may lead to gut dysbiosis.
Mm.
There are reports like that. So if your mental health is not okay because of certain reasons,
Mm.
that may affect your gut microbiome composition. And again, if your gut microbiome composition is not okay, it may affect your mental health. So
Right.
there are certain probiotics, basically, which
Mm.
are also termed as psychobiotics, as they have this mental health promoting properties.
Right. I mean, that's a real eye opener because even the human emotions affect the gut microbiome, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so slowly starting to come towards the mental aspects of it, right? There is a lot of stress in our everyday world, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that also obviously affects the gut microbiome in some way.
Yeah, possibly through the changes in lifestyle, what we have
Mm,
because of such mental issues.
mm,
So, for example, if someone is depressed, his lifestyle will definitely change. Eating pattern will change, physical activity, and so many other things will change.
mm.
That will have an impact on the microbiome, and it will again increase the mental health problems that the person is already having. So overall the situation will be very difficult.
Right, right. So, I mean, even sleep, right? What about sleep? So that also is a very important factor.
Yes, sleep also is important for overall stress management, so we can't directly associate all these things,
Hmm.
but yeah, indirectly everything is associated.
Right,
Lack of sleep, more of stress, that may induce certain changes in lifestyle, or
right.
maybe lifestyle changes will lead to sleep disturbances, which also will lead to gut microbiome dysbiosis,
Hmm.
and we may find an association between sleep deprivation and gut dysbiosis. So it's a very complex, so we can't say one to one, it's a multifactorial, multi-directional relationship.
Right, right. And also, because of these lifestyle changes that you are mentioning, right? I mean, this
Yes.
also disrupts our hormones, right?
Yes.
The cortisol hormone or the sleep hormone or whatever it is, and that plays into the gut microbiome, right? In
Yeah.
some. Right, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, also, I mean, today, like everyone has a desk job, almost desk job, right? Everyone is on their laptops all the time. Very few people engage in physical activity, right? So, how
Yes.
does that change the equation in the microbiome?
So basically, physical activity like yoga and all these things are associated in observational studies. It is observed that those who are physically active, they have a better gut microbiome composition
Hmm.
than those who are having a sedentary lifestyle. The reasons can be again multiple. It may not be one-to-one causal relationship, but yeah, better physical activity, better overall health, which also is related to the gut microbiome composition.
Okay, okay, yeah. All right. So I think so. In your last conversation that we had just now, you
Yeah.
mentioned about probiotics, right?
Yes.
There is also prebiotics, right?
Yeah.
So can you help us differentiate between the two and the natural ways to obtain it?
Yeah, so basically, probiotics are beneficial live microorganisms which can be consumed. And for example, a certain species of Lactobacillus bulgaricus, Lactobacillus lactis, Lactobacillus casei, paracasei, so many species are there, Lactobacillus species especially,
Hmm.
Streptococcus thermophilus, and so on. Many probiotic species are there.
Hmm.
And prebiotics are basically dietary ingredients which promote the growth of probiotics. So basically, prebiotics are the food for the probiotics.
Okay.
And when we consume probiotic and prebiotics together, that is known as symbiotics.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so this all these bacteria names that you mentioned, right? Lactose
Yeah.
and so on.
Lactobacillus. Yeah.
Right, right. So these are all derived from milk and milk products, or is it something different?
Mostly from fermented food products,
Okay,
milk, or maybe something else, maybe fermented soya products also.
right, right.
Uh, so yeah, fermented products mostly from that, because
Okay.
fermentation is associated with microbial growth. So microbes only basically ferment the products, and when we consume that, it will, we can get the probiotics through that.
Mm,
Like for example, curd,
mm,
yogurt,
right.
then buttermilk sort of things.
Even steamed idli, right? That would be helpful.
So steaming, it actually reduces the bacterial count
Okay,
because of the heat and all.
right,
Idli batter, dosa batter, these are very much rich in probiotics.
right.
Once you cook it, it will reduce.
Reduce.
So basically, through curd, yogurt, then other things, like there are so many traditional fermentation
Kanji is
products.
also there, right?
Yeah, from different parts, different states have their own traditional fermented food products. Like in Northeast, they have so many fermented items, dishes in
Right,
their cuisine. Then sauerkraut, kimchi, these kind of products also are there. So yeah,
right. Yeah, and since we are both Bengalis, we know there is a fermented thing in
Ye-
our thing also called
yeah,
panta bhat, right? Which is
yeah,
soaked rice
yes,
overnight, right?
yes,
Yeah, and that will also be very helpful in helping this probiotics, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So that is also like we have panta bhat in
Mm.
Assam also they have, in Orissa they call it pakhad.
Mm.
So these are also rich in probiotics. And the good thing is they don't require much of cooking, so the microbes won't die because of
Right,
the cooking process.
right, right. So, I mean, obviously, this is very interesting, right? And
And
we
prebiotics we get from like definitely dietary fiber is a prebiotic, then
mm,
inulin, many get this complex carbohydrate molecules what we have.
mm,
Those act as prebiotics. Certain phytochemicals they can also act as prebiotics.
right,
So yeah, for example, when we add onion and all these things to panta bhat,
mm,
that acts as a together. It may act as a symbiotic as it's providing both probiotics and prebiotics to the medium.
right, right. Even adding a wedge of lime or lemon to it,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
enhances it a bit more, right? Yeah. So, Shomam, another thing was, we talked about antibiotics, right? But
Yeah.
in relation to that, just opposed to that, I would say uh, the the dietary fiber that we eat in our diet, right? That also helps the good bacteria, but it also causes a lot of discomfort for some individuals where they have gases,
Yeah.
bloating, hurts a little bit more, right? So how do they deal with this then?
So so basically, that is definitely a problem. Those who have this flatulence and bloating kind of issues,
Issues.
for them, we have to see individually how much and what they can tolerate. Based on that, we have to plan their things. Usually, those who are having this kind of flatulence issues or IBS sort of issues,
Hmm.
a low FODMAP diet is prescribed, and in
Okay.
that case, the prebiotic load will decrease.
Hmm.
So it has to be individualized completely.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And also they have to seek advice from the nutritionist and
yeah,
dietitians, right?
yes. So
In
it can
such
be
cases.
customized. We have to see which all the products they can tolerate,
Right.
and timing and all these things, meal gaps and everything we have to adjust.
Right, right. So in this whole microbiome world, right, there are emerging research and therapies also that are coming up, right? So
Yeah,
there is one research that or I would say therapy that is called fecal microbiota transplants, right? Can you
yes.
help us explain what that is?
So fecal microbiota transplant, it's at an early stage. So the idea is to collect stool, basically the microbes, beneficial microbes from an healthy donor, healthy individual, and transfer it to a person, a patient who is having some sort of gastrointestinal issue.
Hmm.
So from a person who has a proper gut microbiome composition, we are transferring that to a person who has a uh, you know
Bad
uh,
or non-existent.
dysbiotic gut microbiome.
Hmm.
So ultimately, those microbes will grow there, and it will help to help in eubiosis. The balance it will maintain. So this is the idea, but it's at an early stage. We need more large scale studies, clinical trials, and this gut microbiome interventions, whatever we have, it's not a single time doing thing. Even after you do the FMT, fecal microbiota transplant, if you don't follow a healthy lifestyle dietary pattern, it may again get changed, the microbiome composition. So you have to continuously maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle and environmental factors and so on.
Right.
So it's a long term thing, not a short term thing.
Right. Right. So you mentioned about this term leaky gut in our conversation, right? Can you help us explain what that is?
Yeah, so the leaky gut is basically, so there are between the intestinal epithelial cells, there are certain proteins which help to maintain their integrity, the integrity of the lining, gastrointestinal lining. So there are tight junction proteins, gap junction proteins. If those structures are disrupted, then your gut becomes leaky. So the function of that barrier is to prevent the entry of unwanted compounds into our circulation, into our system.
Okay.
If that barrier is impaired because of certain reasons, then it will allow anything and everything to enter the circulation, which will ultimately lead to inflammation and so many other problems. So there are numerous the reasons which are responsible for the impairment of the gut lining, the barrier. For example, environmental enteropathy that we have,
Hmm.
continuous exposure to an unhygienic environment, then pollution,
Hmm.
then certain nutritional deficiencies. For example, vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D helps to maintain the integrity of the gut lining
Hmm.
by promoting the synthesis of this tight junction gap junction protein. So if there is certain this kind of nutritional deficiencies, there will be more chances of a leaky gut. So leaky gut means the lining becomes leaky, the integrity is lost,
Hmm.
and it will allow anything and everything to enter the circulation.
Right. And by circulation here you mean into the blood, right?
Ultimately to the blood, yeah.
The blood, right? Yeah, and that will cause so much inflation and discomfort.
Yeah, it will reach other body parts, and there it will cause different
Right.
problems.
Right. Even say suppose I accidentally eat something that has parasites in it and I have a leaky gut, right? That could be a
So the
very dangerous.
microbial products may go in, for example, flagellin, lipopolysaccharide,
Hmm.
peptidoglycan. So
Hmm.
the different compounds which are present in these microbes can enter into the circulation and cause inflammation.
Right. Right. And can this leaky gut situation be possible if someone consumes more antibiotics? If is that possible?
Possibly, there are associations, there are studies showing that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean that was very informative. So, can you also help us understand? I mean, when we do our stool tests, right? When doctor advises us to do stool tests. Uh, I mean, if they've, I mean, are they able to distinguish the good and bad bacteria in the test today, or is that something that's still a work in progress?
So basically, the microbiome analysis can be done through different methods, mostly either like 16S rRNA sequencing,
Hmm.
then shotgun metagenomic sequencing, PCR based analysis. So many things can be done. And
Okay.
we can identify the bacterial species or other microbial species, whatever is present in the gut. We can see how much is the overall diversity, and based on that we have to decide what is what. So there are certain pathogenic microbes, microorganisms which can be easily identified, and also routine laboratory tests, stool tests which we can perform. From that also we can identify the pathogenic microbes. Whatever we have, we can easily identify them. There are reported pathogens, from that we can identify.
Okay.
Otherwise, different species and how their balance is maintained, that depends on so many factors, and studies are going on.
Hmm.
But as I've already mentioned, that there is no definition of a perfect gut microbiome.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, completely understand. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think that was a great chat with you, Shomam. So,
Yeah.
we covered a lot of topics, a lot of aspects of it, right? And it was such a fascinating and informative chat. So, I would say thank you for sharing your knowledge with me and our audience. And
Welcome. Yeah.
I hope everyone is now aware of the universe inside of us and how careful we should be to maintain it and keep it healthy, right? So any advice or parting thoughts from you, Shomum, on this?
So basically, lifestyle is the most important thing, and environment. So a proper dietary diversity uh, is crucial for improving the diversity of microbes that we are having,
Mm,
and also the hygiene, the kind of environment, water, sanitation, and hygiene practices, wash practices. These are very important things. So, washing hands with soap before eating, eating clean and safe food. These things are very important. Eating a diverse, balanced meal. This is for adults or for normal healthy individuals. For infants, exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months should be promoted, should be encouraged.
mm,
Then, after that, introduction of complementary feeding timely at 6 months of age. That complementary food also should be properly cooked, should be diverse, should be safe, hygienic. Like bottle feeding is not healthy for the infants because of so many reasons associated with the disinfection of the bottles. So proper hygiene practices are very important for the infants also. So these are the things. Exclusive breastfeeding is a very important thing for infants. It will, so for adults, a diverse microbiome is a desired microbiome, but for infants, less diversity and higher predominance of bifidobacterium infantis type. That is the ideal situation. So these are the things we should take care. And also physical activity, maintaining the micronutrient status in a
mm,
healthy, in a proper range. These are the things. And probiotic supplements, if we talk about, we don't need supplements as such.
mm,
Food first approach should be taken. Supplements, probiotic supplements like VSL3 and all these are prescribed in very particular situations. For example, ulcerative colitis or maybe pouchitis, these kind of particular specific clinical situations, we have guidelines for probiotic supplementation. Otherwise, we can consume a probiotic like fermented food rich diet, dietary fiber, prebiotics, symbiotics, and even there are so many, you know, food items nowadays available which are rich in probiotics and prebiotics that can be incorporated in the diet. So so many things are there, and if we follow all these things properly, definitely we can get benefits.
right. Yeah. I mean, overall, our hygiene and food should be proper,
Yeah.
right?
Hygiene, environment,
Mm,
and food, water, these are very important things.
right. And even our eating habits, right? For example, the times we eat in, for example, if someone is eating very late in the night, say 12 a.m., right, or
Yeah.
1 a.m., that is also going to disrupt.
Yeah, so overall lifestyle should
Yeah.
be very much disciplined.
Right. Yeah. Great. I mean, that was such a great conversation with you, Somam. So, thank you again for joining with us today. It was a real great honor to speak with you, right? And to all our audience, thank you all for watching. Please do like, share our video and subscribe to our channel. We will continue bringing more such super healthy and fascinating informational content with you every time. So, and please do also support Nibble Foods in this health transformation journey by liking, sharing, and also commenting your thoughts in the comment section, right? So you can get more information about Nibble Foods and our guest Soumam Dutta in video description and also in the pinned comments. So until next time, stay healthy, stay fit, and thank you Soumam once again.
Yes, thank you so much.